Okay, so I'm going to split my presentation into two parts, partly because I can't sit still for an hour and partly because it's pretty difficult to concentrate and it makes sense to split it into. First part, I'm going to look at yellow flags for injury prevention, and then I'm going to look at data in the rehabilitation process. So my big thing, and sorry if you've seen this slide before, I use it quite a lot, is there's no point in having all these yellow flags and all this data if you don't talk about it or you don't use it. So I can sit in front of my screens all day long, picking up these flags and looking at trends in the data. But if I don't pass that information on effectively, or if I do pass it on and no one buys into it, or no one cares, or no one knows what to do with it, there's no point in doing it at all. We've spent a lot of time as a team coming together, learning each other's expertise, so we know where to go when we need something, but also we respect each other. We respect each other and we know where to look. We have these wash-up meetings every single day where the people that are on that diagram there each offer their own expertise and advice on the topics that we're talking about. In those wash-up meetings is where I will present the yellow flags, anything that we need to look for, and everyone else has their own yellow flags or things that they look for or things that they've heard or things that they think will be useful to best support the players. So for me, this is how it looks. These are my yellow flags. These are things that I would bring up in that wash-up meeting. Speed exposure, loading asymmetries, no board scores, time since last 90, or game load. So when was the last time they played any significant game time, or how often have they played in the last X amount of period of time. Acute chronic workload ratios, GPS data flags, and I've put that generally, so that might be they've done way more accelerations and decelerations than usual in this session. Training has or hasn't matched the intensity of the game. This particular drill got this out of the lads, but when they did it for the third time, fatigue had kicked in and it dropped off to this, things like that. Number of games prepared for, and forced X data. So they're the main things that I would focus on and talk about in the wash-up meeting at the end of the day. Once I've mentioned those, then there's a discussion between all the staff that I put on the previous slide, is see if anyone has got anything that matches up with that. Anything that they've seen through soft tissue work, through physio screening, whatever it is. Also talk to the players. Have they got anything that matches up with that? Do they know why they haven't achieved this? Or have they felt anything? Have they modified on purpose? Whatever it is. And then the physios and the medical staff will do any sort of screening or testing they need to do to see if any of those flags stand from their point of view. Now, it doesn't necessarily work in that order. That's just the order it works for me, communicating the flags. At any one point, a player could come up to a member of staff and say they feel that hamstrings, and then we look back to see what might have caused that happening, or a physio might see something in their Kangatech scores that makes me look in the data and see if I can see anything that matches up with that. But ultimately, all that information gathering allows us to make an informed decision. So the main decision that happens most often is, okay, we're aware of it, it's good to know, carry on as normal, let's just see if we can provide some extra support for this player. It might be, can we try and make sure that they don't stay out for 15 minutes at the end, crossing balls in with the same foot on the same side, or potentially, can we try and modify their training a little bit? Can we talk to the coaches and see if maybe they could be a floater, or they can miss out on this part of the session? And then the last, worst case scenario is we take the information to the coaches and we say, we don't think this player should train today, or we don't think they should be available for selection, but that is worst case scenario. And ultimately it's at the coach's discretion. So here's all this information. This is what we think or we recommend. But it's up to you. And also there's some back and forth in that as well. It's not always a black and white process.